right or wrong answer here, depending on the type of diabetic one is, and of course the pizza itself. Is there such a thing as a healthy pizza for diabetics? Well, what I can say about diabetes is this. It is and it will be a lifelong diet experiment where no 2 days are always going to be exactly alike. How an insulin-dependent diabetic approaches and responds to pizza will be a little different from those who are not insulin-dependent. Now, I will also explain in this episode why pizza is so difficult to navigate as a diabetic and how the body's normal digestion absorption of glucose is so very, very different with this unique food. I will also explain how to simply figure out the grams of carbs in the different pizzas by using one tool, your hand. So we are going to, there we go, use our hand as a guide, and I'll show you how. But before we begin, let me welcome all the resilient diabetics out there. This is where we turn ordinary struggling diabetics into extraordinarily well-controlled diabetics. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jay Sampat, and I am an insulin-dependent diabetic diagnosed a little over 5 years ago. So not only am I diabetic like you, where we're going to walk the walk, but we will talk the talk together, but I also do have a University of Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition dietetics, and that comes in very, very handy when discussing all the intricacies of being a diabetic. My goal here is to simplify things to make life better for you. If you like what you see here today and you want to learn more, I really highly suggest you hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification icon, which is the gray bell. And if you're on a computer, it'll be on your right-hand side of your screen. And that is so you don't miss a second of any new upcoming episodes that change one's life. Who does not love pizza? The taste, the smell. It's that all-round feel-good food that many of our social gatherings are based around. So what makes pizza so unique? Each one of us, depending on the type of diabetic we are, respond differently to pizza. A type 1 and a type 1.5 and LADA, like myself, who requires insulin, will have more of a challenging time managing blood sugars than generally a type 2 with a normal or less than optimal insulin pancreatic output. It's the combination of the large amounts of fat and carbs in the pizza that makes this food so unbelievably challenging. One slice of cheese pizza from a fast food restaurant will contain around 300 calories, 5 grams of saturated fat, and around 35 to 40 grams of carbs. But the funny thing is, 640 milligrams of sodium. Now, adding pepperoni to your slice will increase it to about 350 calories, 6 grams of saturated fat, and around 40 to 45 grams of carbs. And the pepperoni will move it up to around 800 milligrams of sodium per slice. The problem with pizza is that the nutritional facts of takeout pizza will vary greatly depending on where you get your pizza. So you have to kind of source your nutritional information locally to wherever you get your pizza from. How would you ballpark the grams of pizza? Well, all you need is just your hand. So basically, consider that a slice of pizza. A traditional hand-tossed pizza, that's about the size of an average adult's hand, will probably have around 30 grams of carbs. If it's a thin crust, we're going to be talking about 20 grams. Now, a deep dish or a Sicilian style will have around 45 to 50 grams. We talked about the glycemic index and its limitations as a diabetic tool already. And in this case, when it comes to pizza, this tool is as good as using a hammer to pluck your eyebrow hairs. Why? Because of the pizza itself. You can have a slice of pizza with cheese on it, a regular crust, and the glycemic index will be around 80. You can go down the street to another place and order the same pizza, and they'll call it deluxe, and it'll have a GI of 30. Even when using your hand as a ballpark method, pizza can sometimes be nearly impossible to figure out the carbs per slice, because not only do you have to account for the crust, thin crust, deep dish, hand tossed, but what is the crust made of? Flour, whole wheat. Then, of course, you've got your toppings that can come in a million different ways. So what are the problems that we face as insulin-dependent diabetics when we eat pizza? And unfortunately, it's not just pizza I'm talking about here. This includes, for me personally, most pasta Italian dishes, Chinese food, and Indian food too. The first obstacle we face is that we cannot, like the other foods, take all of our insulin up front and at once. What that does is it leads to massive swings of blood sugars throughout the day, and I'll explain why. Now, what I normally do is I front load or I pre-bolus my insulin R prior to my meals. It usually ranges between 15 to 30 minutes depending on what I'm eating. So by the time the insulin begins to work, the food is being absorbed and digested. So the insulin will then clear 2 to 4 maybe hours later along with that meal. But as we all know, pizza is not a normal meal. We're not dealing with just a serving size of fat and a good servings of carbs here. We're talking about a lot of fat and a lot of carbs all at one time. So taking all that insulin before we eat or even during the meal, what is going to lead to? Low blood sugars. Why? Because all that fat is going to drastically slow down the digestion of carbs in the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract. In the episode, are smoothies, fruit drinks healthy for diabetics? And I'll link that down in the description box. At the very end, you'll see a box floating. You just have to physically click that and it'll take you to the episode. I really discuss one important topic for all diabetics to know: how carbohydrates are broken down and absorbed. Everyone should really understand that process. The fats lock up the digestion of carbs and slow the rate in which it gets absorbed by the small intestine. So the more fats one consumes, the slower the carbs get released into the small intestine, thus into the bloodstream. So what does that lead to? Well, you've just taken your insulin. It leads to hypoglycemia. Even with all those carbs in the meal, yes, you go hypo. For us diabetics, it's an absolutely weird sensation because you're full from eating all that pizza, but your sugars are low. And then you start panicking, and you have to eat more sugars. And guess what? You do. And then a few hours later, surprise, surprise, your blood sugars are extremely high again. Your initial insulin has cleared, but your carbs are now just about coming into the bloodstream. And they're coming in at a slow rate. So you now reach for that insulin again, and you take a monster-sized correction bolus, and then you swear never to eat pizza again. And you're never going to overdo it because the foods have cleared, and guess what? You go hypo once more again. So you end up telling yourself you're a bad diabetic for trying to enjoy some pizza. So what ends up happening? You feel frustrated, you feel angry, and you feel guilt. I get it. Been there. That is why on the episode, The Diabetic Diet, the Super Bowl, where I had some pizza, I didn't take any insulin at first. Dealing with that roller coaster for just a couple slices was just too much for me. I will also link that video at the very end and in the description box below. But I will explain how I got my blood sugars in control and I managed to get through the day without much blood sugar swings. Now what about type 2 diabetics? Provided your pancreas is working, you don't have to worry too much about the possible extreme volatility swings associated with trying to time out insulin and a fatty food like pizza. The less fat in the pizza, the better it will be for you too. So what I would recommend is that you shoot for the thin crust pizza with a light cheese topping. And against contrary belief, I would also suggest a moderate glycemic index pizza that clears quickly too. That's not so loaded with fat. If you're looking for exciting toppings, I would have them put the vegetable toppings on. You could order stuff like broccoli, tomatoes, spinach, mushrooms. And as for the meats, if possible, what you can ask for is chicken instead of pepperoni or sausage. Side dishes, they're important too. You want to keep those as low as fat as possible. There'll be enough fat and carbs coming in from the pizza. So if they're available, you definitely want to order salads, but really limit the dressings and the croutons. As many of you know, you can make your own pizza at home. Not only can they be really, really healthy and low in carbs, such as using cauliflower crust, but you can top it with any kind of healthy toppings that you like. If you're new to this, do a Google search on cauliflower pizza crust. You would be amazed. A few really important notes if you're a new diabetic dealing with tricky, high-fat, high-carb food like pizza. Take very good notes on what you ate. 2, when you ate it and how much insulin you took and when you took the insulin. You're going to want to take your readings post-meal. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and most importantly in the morning. Notice, the later you eat a meal like pizza, generally the worse your blood sugars are going to be in the morning. So if you are having that hunkering for pizza or something fatty and full of carbs, I would opt for being eaten early in the day, such as lunch rather than dinner. Figure out what you would do differently next time if the results were not good. And if they're bad, don't fret about it. This is all part of the learning process. Diabetes isn't actually random. There are different variables to account for. many of which we can't really control at first, but we can predict the outcome once those variables are known. So never give in to this, oh my, this sucks. I'll never get this right. That mentality will do you no good. Instead, what you should strive for is simply understand what is causing those fluctuations in blood sugars. If you've been following me, you know I'm a big advocate of eating mostly a low-carb diet centered around cruciferous vegetables and green leafy vegetables, along with very, very lean proteins. But I really do believe in desserts and treats too from time to time. We are all human. Now, you'll enjoy those treats far more if you have a better understanding of what your specific diabetic needs are. You always have to continue with a little self-study and enjoy. If you found this episode helpful, I need you to hit that subscribe button. In the comment section, I'm going to ask all the diabetic pizza lovers out there to post their favorite recipes, from the crust you use to the toppings that are in plate. That would help all the new diabetics coming in with a healthier choice. And those videos I promised you, that box should be right here. Go ahead and click that, and that'll take you to the 2 episodes I mentioned earlier. Have a great and productive day, and we'll see you very soon with another new episode, which are always released weekly. Bye, friends.